Uh, Welcome to everyone today to this session and also to our online audience who'll be reviewing this at a later date. This session I've put together to look all around phishing attacks. Now, I thought this is really important because looking at the data and the statistics that are being released each year, looking at cyber threats and attacks on organizations, we see that the majority of them are done through phishing attacks. There was a recent study that showed that 70% of medium-sized organizations, had a data breach or an attack. And of those, it was around 80% of them, it was actually more than 80%, were done through phishing attacks. And that's why I thought it was important to bring this presentation, because we know that one of the biggest causes of data breaches for organizations and also in your personal life are done through phishing attacks. So if we understand what they are, how they work, and what to look out for, we can eliminate most of these. And there's some really good techniques that you can put in place to stop these from happening altogether. So jumping into the presentation itself, let's have a look at what phishing attacks actually are. I'll try not to cover my screen with that, so bear with me a second, just so I don't lose everything. So what a phishing attack is when basically a hacker or a cyber criminal is pretending to be a trustworthy entity. They'll try and trick you into volunteering sensitive information. And phishing scams, they usually trick victims through something called social engineering to create a sense of urgency. And they'll often try to send it to several people in your organization at the same time for a higher success rate. Now, they do this through a number of different ways. One of these methods they use is by creating fake websites that look like real websites, or they'll try and get you to send money to accounts, or they'll try and get you to trust them that they are somebody they are not. And one of the biggest examples of a successful phishing attack was done by a man who managed to steal over $120 million from Facebook and Google just by using one trick. And he did this over the process of 2 years. And what he did was he impersonated a real hardware supplier from Asia that Facebook and Google were doing business with. So they were doing business with this hardware supplier in Asia. This man did some research, he looked into this, he found out they were doing business with this person, and so he started pretending to be that supplier from Asia by creating fake websites, sourcing information, and he would have done quite a lot of research into this. And what he did was he started sending emails to employees of Facebook and Google, where basically he would create fake invoices posing as the hardware company, and he'd get employees to transfer money to his bank accounts that he used under the same name as the hardware supplier. He actually got away with that for 2 years, and he accumulated over $120 million. Now, he eventually was caught. He was sentenced, he did go to prison, but that's just one example of how a very simple trick can create a huge impact for an organization. And that's just one example. Phishing takes many different forms, which we'll explore in a moment. Now, how do you protect yourself? Well, one thing I will say, biggest one, is staff training. Human error was actually the cause of 90% of data breaches. That's people literally just clicking on those links, clicking attachments when they shouldn't have, and just giving away information. So 90% of it was down to human error. So if we can eliminate that, we can eliminate most of these attacks. So how does phishing work? Well, it's done through 3 stages. It's called phishing with a PH. It does literally take the form of a criminal often casting a net, trying to get as many people to take that bait as possible. What they'll do is they'll put the bait out. They do that through social engineering. Could be a fake message designed to look real, so a fake email designed to look like a real one, sent by a real person in authority or someone in your organization. They then use the hook, which is where the email will include a link or an attachment that seems urgent. So you need to click on that, and they'll give a story of getting you to click on that link and trying to get you to click on it. And then once you've clicked on it, that's where the catch happens. Once you've clicked on that link or attachment, this will lead to one of several outcomes. And those outcomes can be sending you to a fake website where you input data and they steal that information. And that's called data theft. They could steal passwords, login details. Could install malicious software to your computer. So malicious software can do real damage, also steal information, lock systems, and their aim is to get financial gain from you, so you'll get financial loss. They'll do identity theft, so they'll often steal data and then they'll go commit identity theft elsewhere. Or you'll have different accounts compromised. And phishing has multiple layers. It doesn't just have to be the one. That one attack can be a gateway to opening up to a whole network of ways they try and get you. So as I said, they do this through something called social engineering. And what that is where they exploit human psychology to gain trust and make it easier for victims to fall for a scam. So they'll impersonate somebody, maybe the police, maybe HMRC, maybe someone you're doing business with, maybe a patient or resident's family, carer, whoever it could be, staff, it could be anybody. They'll do that through a process of background research, or they'll just pretend to be a company and then send you a fake email. What they'll do is they'll put fear and urgency in those emails. So the language will be very fearful. If you don't do this, there'll be this consequence. You're at risk of threat. There'll be lots of fear in there. And as I said, there'll be that urgency. If you don't act now, there will be consequences. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get you to go into a state of fight or flight. So you make a quick, rapid response. They're not giving you time to think. There was a great quote that I pulled off here, which explained how this is done. So scammers are very good at crafting situations that create something called an amygdala attack, which is a term used to describe what happens when your brain perceives an emergency situation. So fear, urgency, threatening behavior, they can all trigger that reaction in your brain that sidesteps the usual neuro pathways. And criminals know this. They know if they use certain tactics of fear, urgency, threat, that you're going to jump into that quick thinking fight or flight part of your brain. You're going to make a split decision and you're going to act in a way that you wouldn't normally act. And that's what they're exploiting. And the most simple way to demonstrate this is to read this thing on my next slide very quickly. So if you just read that, I love Paris in the springtime. If we slow down our thinking, if we read it again, we can see it says, I love Paris in the springtime. They use the word the twice. What usually happens is our brain will just fill in missing pieces of information or fill in grammatical errors or fill in logical reasoning, especially if we're targeted with threat and fear. And so what could be an email that logically, if we slowed our thinking down and read it and analyzed it, could turn out to be something riddled with spelling mistakes, grammatical errors, things, red flags that we're overlooking. And that's what we want to do. We want to understand these cyber criminals are trying to get us to slow our thinking down, trying to get us to go into that quick thinking part of our brain. They're trying to get us to do that amygdala response, so we react out of fight or flight, and we need to recognize that and go in by slowing down our thinking and logically analyzing everything in front of us. You'll be surprised at how many red flags you can actually identify. We're going to do this now with some real simulations to just show you some actual examples of phishing attacks. And I've pulled multiple examples from different sites like Hook Security. They offer lots of different phishing examples, but also from gov.uk. They provided examples of phishing attacks, action fraud. I've collated these all into one place. We're going to have a look at how many red flags there are. Now, on first viewing, you might get an email like this, where you see a title saying high severity alert, phish delivered due to tenant to user override. So I'll get into the red flags in a moment. Again, we see it's from Microsoft. It says a high severity alert has been triggered. It tells us it was a phishing attack and it was delivered. And what we need to do is we need to view those alert details. So it'll get you to go click on that link and have a look. And it'll take you to a login page. You'll put your details in, you'll log in. Now, let's slow down our thinking. Now, in a real case scenario, we see a high severity alert. We need to quickly check that we're okay. We need to make sure our accounts are safe. So that's us urgent, fearful. We're in that fight or flight response. We'll click the link, we'll put our details in. And what we've just done is we've given our account number, email address, and password to a criminal who will then try to actually log in. If we actually slow down our thinking, we can identify loads of red flags here. So firstly, high severity alert. Phish delivered due to tenant or user override. So there's this weird title. Again, if you're looking in the title, if there's usually fearful or urgent language, that is a red flag. But it's actually saying that there was a phishing attempt and it was actually delivered due to some weird override. Now, this just sounds highly bizarre. It doesn't really make too much sense, a bit convoluted. So already there's some alarm bells going in my brain that this just doesn't look right. The next thing I always say is just look at the email address, the sender address. This one says Microsoft@emailrecords.com. Again, it can look quite real. What criminals often do is they'll spoof email addresses where they'll create fake emails that look like real ones. So when you get those emails, you need to pay attention to that. Sometimes really obvious, and I'll show you an example in a moment where it just does not match the content. But this could be a legitimate email, so we do need to look for some more red flags. So first one is a high severity alert has been triggered. So this is me really analyzing this in great detail, but this is saying it's from Microsoft 365. Now, brands will have their own they'll have their own font that they use. It's part of branding. So when you look at companies, they'll use fonts in emails, they'll use fonts in general emails as well, which will be similar to what they usually use. So Microsoft 365, you see this font, again, it just looks very out of place for a Microsoft email. And that's me really dissecting this all the way down. They're also saying a high severity alert. So they're saying they're trying to scare me that this is real, this is really bad. It's been triggered, you need to do something. So severity high, again, fear. Details, one message hit on, and then there's just loads of random jumbled up characters. This makes no sense. One message sent on, and it's just nonsense. So again, some red flags there. And then finally, they're trying to get you to click on a link to verify this. That is a common theme in phishing. They'll either try and get you to download something, or they'll try and get you to click on a link. And that link will take you through to a fake website. So again, instead of me just reacting, seeing high severity alert, and just clicking, I've stopped, I've slowed down, I've dissected everything, and I found there's so many red flags here. This is a phishing email. I need to report this. So next one, Monday.com, something that a lot of organizations are using to share documentation. They're using it to work on documents. So seeing this one's a bit more prevalent. I use Monday.com for various things. But this one, Monday.com, invitation to join a board. This one comes across quite innocent. So you've just got this email. There's nothing really fearful or urgent here. Again, I'll be looking at the sender address, support@shareddocument.com. Again, if this was from Monday.com, you would expect to see their domain name in their email. This one does not have any form of Monday in that domain. So again, it doesn't link to this. This is, again, a big red flag, which we've identified here. You were invited to join a board, added your team, everyone to the one immediate items to address. So red flag here is saying that they've added you to a board. It's immediate items to address. So there's some urgency there. It's saying, look, if you don't sign up to this, you're not going to see the immediate things you need to get on now. And then they get you to click on a link. So see the board now, you'll click on that, you put your details in, it's a fake website, they stole your details. And the thing that really got me here, the thing that made me laugh actually quite a bit, was right at the bottom, they put everybody else has joined. So they're sort of trying to get you to act in that fear of missing out state. Again, a psychological principle, which is often when we feel like we're missing out on something, we will be more inclined to sign up to it. And they've tried to implement that tactic here by telling you that everyone else has joined, so you better get on and do this. So it's like a last case thing. Again, they'll get you to click on that link. But already there are multiple red flags in this one. The first one that should be in the warning was the sender address, the domain didn't match. Another one, Dropbox, something that often a lot of people use, organizations use to share documents, upload documents. This one, again, lots of red flags here. First one I'm looking at is the title, your action required. So they're telling you there is action, you need to act now. So there's that urgency there. And then if we go down a bit, we were looking at the sender address. As always look at that sender address. This one again has Dropbox in the domain. So again, it could be real. This doesn't really give anything away here. So we need to look for more red flags. And there's one that really stands out here. Dropbox would send, if they were sending an email like this, it would be an email that's always triggered and sent to people. You would expect a team would have done grammatical checks. So they would have checked this, signed it off before it is done, and it would be a template. So there wouldn't be any grammatical errors in this. This one says you have been invited to Dropbox. So there's a grammatical error. That to me is the biggest red flag here. Just the fact that in a generic automated email, there's a grammatical error. That would not happen. And if we use the example we looked at a moment ago, where I showed how our brain will often fill in the gaps, with that example we looked at earlier, with that statement that had the 2 words repeated, our brain can be our worst enemy in these situations where we'll just read quickly and we won't even notice these grammatical errors. And a tip I always say is if you are suspicious of an email, if you think it might be a bit dodgy, it's unsolicited, you didn't have anything to do with it, read the email out loud, and often you'll suddenly realize there's grammatical errors in there. And again, that's a good way to do it. It's a tip that I always used to give to people when I worked within the banking sector, dealing with fraud. So if we go down a bit more, it says here is the Dropbox link. Please copy and paste the files to this folder. Thanks. Again, all very informal, really informal. View folder, again, they're getting to click on a link. That link will take you to a fake website where you input your password and email address, and they've just stolen your account details. Now, HMRC actually published this one on their website, which was really interesting. This is a real example of a phishing email that has been going around recently. So this one, again, loads of red flags in here, which we'll touch on in a moment. But it says basically from HMRC refund. It's got a date on here, subject. It's just telling us that a new tax calculation is ready. You can view your latest tax calculation, but what they're basically telling you is, look, you've paid us too much and we're going to pay you back £550. So another technique that these cyber criminals often use through social engineering is greed. They will play on the fact that we will try to move towards reward. And in this case, if we're being offered money, we're probably going to click on the link and try and fill in the form. So in order to do so, you're required to submit an official claim application by clicking this link. Complete carefully to ensure everything is correct. Now let's look at those red flags. This one has loads of them in there. First one is the sender address. And this in itself is enough to highlight this. It's quite small on my screen, so I'll actually read it to you. What it is the sender address is mbmarcus@optonline.net. So if you were getting an email from HMRC, do you think that the email would be from some person called Marcus at optonline.net? No. There's a huge red flag there. This is just some random person sending you this email. And just from that alone, that's enough for me to report this as phishing. But there are some really big giveaways if we go down a bit more. So again, we're looking at the font here. If you go to the realgov.uk website, you will notice that that is not the same font. Again, you'll often get quite pixelated, bad fonts, mismatches. They don't look the same as the real websites. The best way to cross-reference that is go to the real website yourself by doing a web search and just having a look. If you see that the font, the logos don't match, big red flag, report it. Next one, we're normally looking at personalization. So again, with a lot of phishing emails, they won't be personalized. It will just say dear customer or dear valued customer. That's because phishing emails will often try and target thousands of people at once. However, sometimes, especially from an organizational standpoint, they may try and target you directly. So just look at who they're addressing it to. If we go down a bit more, again, they're using the technique here. So they'll always use the technique fear, greed, urgency. One of those tactics. This one, they're using that greed. So we owe you money. Please have that money back. And if we go down a bit more, again, they're trying to get us to click on a link. And then the big giveaway here, again, with any real company that we're looking at, they would have a team cross-checking their email templates. This one has a grammatical error, everything not joined up. You would not be seeing this in these official emails. So again, by reading it out loud, we would spot those grammatical errors. And basically what happened when you clicked on this link was it took you to another fake page. Now again, this is where you can match things up. Look at this logo here that says gov.uk. When you click the link, the logo's changed. Font's different, logo's different. And again, that is another huge giveaway. There are inconsistencies here. So when you clicked on that link, what happened then was it said, verify your identification when processing an online claim. It got you to put your account, sort code, account number, card number, expiration, and security code. And then you continue and nothing happened. And basically what happened then is the moment you click continue, that submitted it to the scammer. They now have all the details they need to go and make online payments on your card. And that's what they're trying to do. Again, this is what will happen with phishing emails. We'll click a link, it'll take us through, we'll give the information, and they will steal that information through data theft. So how do we eliminate this? There are loads of different ways in which we can do this. And one that I always say, the biggest one, before we even get to this stage, is staff training. As I said, human error was 90% of data breaches. So 90% of successful data breaches were done because staff didn't have enough training and they were just clicking these links, believing what they were seeing and giving away the information. So that is what we can do straight away. Staff training, what I highly recommend. Implement structure, regularly audit that, make sure your staff are up to date. They know what phishing emails look like. You can even implement phishing simulation into your training as well. So you show them what phishing emails look like. And it's all about slowing down that thinking. As I said, these criminals will want us to get into that quick thinking part of our brain, fight or flight. If we just stop, take a step back, take a moment to breathe, read it out loud, slow down, we'll realize a lot of it is just nonsense. Another one is to, if you do click on one of these links, if you do give away your password, immediately reset your password. So quickly go onto your real system, change your password, inform IT, inform someone senior, let everyone in your organization know there's been a phishing attack, because what happens is phishing attacks will usually target multiple people in your organization for a higher success rate. So we need to let everybody know. Also report that email. If it's within Outlook and from an organizational standpoint, especially if we're using a secure email system like NHS Mail, you have the ability to click report email on the toolbar at the top of the screen. That will go to a team who will check that. But probably the biggest thing to stop them actually getting into our systems is by implementing multi-factor authentication. And multi-factor authentication basically means that if we give our password and email address to a cybercriminal, they still cannot get in the system because they would need to put in a second factor. Now, second factor authentication can take many different forms. So it could be either you get a phone call to your phone with an automated voice telling you to press a key and then you log in. It could be you get a text message to your phone with a code which will allow you to log in. Or it could be that you go onto an authenticator app on your phone which generates a code and then lets you log in. In all three of those scenarios, the cyber criminal would physically need to have your phone in order to log in. And they know this. And so the way they often try to address this is by using other attacks on top of phishing. As I said, it has multi-layers. They may get your password and phone number and you may realize it was a phishing attack, and then suddenly get a phone call claiming to be from the bank, claiming to be from somebody in your IT department or whoever it might be, saying that they're investigating recent fraud. They're aware that you've just had been targeted with an email scam and they want to make sure your account's safe. So what they're going to do is they're going to just check your account details, but first they need to verify you. So they're going to send a code to your phone and you need to read that back to them. But what they've just done is they've just tried to get that multi-factor authentication out of you. You never give that to anybody ever. That prevents that attack. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play a video which demonstrates a real life attack that actually happened, and it shows you those multi-layers that happen in these attacks. So, Nod, if you could just let me know that you can hear this, or just give me a thumbs up, I can see you now.
I'm Diane. I'm a finance manager at a care home and a victim of cybercrime. Where would you start? I walked in the office and said hello to Joe, made a cup of tea and sat down at my desk, as I do every morning, to quickly scan through my emails. Spam, newsletters, and an email from Sandra, my managing director, asking me to fill in an online form. So I click on it, which took me to a familiar looking portal. It asked me for my details, the usual stuff, email, name, phone number, create a password. And it was from Sandra, so I thought nothing of it. So that was that. Emails checked, time for work. The next day, I walked in the office, said hello to Joe, made a cup of tea and sat down at my desk. And wow, the inbox was alive. I had loads of emails from worried colleagues, and when I scrolled down to read the entire thread, I could see that I'd sent out an email, which read, "Hello, I'm really embarrassed to ask, but our bank balance is really low due to the cost of bills at the moment. Please, could you send money here to help us out?" I never sent anything. And then the phone rang. Hello? It's the bank. Yeah. Thanks for calling. Yeah, something odd is happening. They said they'd seen some fraudulent activity on the bank account and they needed me to verify my credentials for them to shut it down. We're not a big company, so I was grateful for the help and relieved to be able to sort out whatever the strange behaviour that was going on. I guess I got swept up in the moment and I wasn't thinking things through. I gave them the bank details, my username, the secret PIN. They told me to be careful of online scammers, as they've seen a lot of people clicking on dishonest links at the moment, so be sceptical. I told them about the form Sandra had sent me and asked if that might have started from that. They told me they'd sort everything out and not to worry. And so with that, relieved, I got on with my day. Crisis averted. Except it had only just begun. It was Sandra. "Why have you removed thousands of pounds from the business's bank account? This is very serious." The police said I'd downloaded malicious software known as malware onto my computer. They said that Sandra's email wasn't sent from her at all, but instead an email account spoofed to look like hers. That's how they got onto my computer to send those emails out. And they'd called me on the phone number I'd given them when I was submitting that form. I just can't believe how quickly it all happened. The police keep saying, remember, you're a victim in all this. And workers saying, not to worry. But I just can't face everyone knowing what I've done. All that money that should be going to paying the staff, providing care for our patients, stolen because of me. It's beyond awful, and it could have been avoided. The police say this is happening all the time, but it doesn't make you feel any better. I know now I could have read the email more thoroughly before clicking the link, checked if it really was from Sandra. I should have put the phone down when they claimed to be the bank and called the bank directly myself. But this sort of thing has never happened to me before. And I just didn't stop and think. But you can.
And I mean, it's all there, just in what she says, just stopping and thinking. I mean, as I say, if we just slow down our thinking and we do really analyze those emails, it will stand out to you, those red flags. And that one case there, as I said, it had those multi-layers. So they first targeted her in that phishing email. Again, there would have been malicious software in there that she would have downloaded onto her computer, which could have, again, malicious software could take many different forms. It could have spied on the documents, stolen information. She also volunteered information to them as well by filling out a form. Again, she would have loaded that with sensitive information they could have used to then, again, get into systems, send emails. That's how they hijacked her own email. It then went on to phishing. So you saw they phoned her pretending to be the bank with the phone number that she gave. And again, they were using that tactic, that manipulation to say, look, there's a scam going on. We need to investigate this. They fabricate this story that links to the original. And again, they join it all together and they try and get as much information as possible so they can get that money, so they can get whatever it is they need. And that is how they do these attacks. And as you can see, they're manipulating us. That's what they do. They use those psychological tactics to get us to trust them. And through that human error, their attacks are successful. And as I say, there are a few things you can do to prevent this, which we'll get onto in a moment. But one of the things that I think is important that you understand is malware as well, because again, part of phishing could be that malware is installed onto your computer. And in that case, she had some form of malware. They didn't really get into exactly what the malware was, but malware can do many different things, like sitting on the computer, stealing information. It is just software that's designed to stop you from accessing your own, it's software that's designed to access your system in lots of different ways. One of these is called ransomware. So this is one that we're seeing a lot of, just to give an example. So ransomware is where you try to log into your computer one day and suddenly you notice the computer is locked. You can't get into anything. All you can see is just one pop-up on your screen. I've got some examples here. For example, you might try and log into your computer. This is all you see. You can't click anything else but these two boxes as to where you can input information. This one pretending to be the police, telling you, usually your camera will turn on so you can see yourself here, and it's telling you that you need to pay a fine and then you can have access back to your computer. Again, big red flag with ransomware is they usually try and get you to pay with either cryptocurrency or gift cards. Why would the police ask you to pay with gift cards? You can see they're actually trying to get them to put gift card vouchers in here to pay. The reason for that is it's untraceable, and that's why the cybercriminal uses that. Some more examples are you might get, again, another pop-up like this. You can't click on anything. It just says all your files have been encrypted. So they're telling you that you can't access any of your files. And basically, when a file's encrypted, it is very difficult, almost impossible to decrypt those files. So even if you go to an IT specialist, it can be almost unrecoverable. So they're threatening you with this, saying that you can't access anything, and you've got 72 hours, otherwise we're going to delete everything. And the only way to fix this is to pay us in Bitcoin. So cryptocurrency, again, another big red flag. Again, another one telling them that their files are encrypted, getting them to pay with Bitcoin again. And then finally, this one, they're trying to act as vigilantes. They're basically saying, look, we've identified a weakness in your system. Just be thankful it wasn't hijacked by serious people or some stupid, it was hijacked by serious people and not some stupid schoolboys or dangerous punks. So they're basically saying, look, we've done you a favor here. And for that service, we will give you back your information, but you need to pay us to do that. So pay us some Bitcoin, and we will let you have all your files back. So again, they can come at this from many different ways, trying to get you to pay them. Now, most forms of ransomware, usually, as I say, you can't access anything, and they will tell you they've encrypted anything, but in most cases, they haven't actually encrypted your system, and you can get rid of malware very easily. If they have actually encrypted your system, that's where backups are so important. As a care organization, you should be creating backups for all your data. That is part of compliance. That's part of business continuity planning. I run sessions on both of those, but you need to have backups that are off of your computer or off of your system, so that if this does happen, you can carry on business as usual. But let's just say you log onto your computer, you can't access anything. How do you access your system again? Well, first thing I say is just disconnect your internet. Disconnecting the internet, if they do have malware, which is getting remote access to your computer, that will stop it through disconnecting. Once you've disconnected the internet, run your computer in safe mode. So on a Windows computer, when you turn your computer on, hit F8 immediately. That's F8. When you hit that, it will give you the option to run it in safe mode. When you run your computer in safe mode, it will stop any pop-ups happening upon your startup process. Now, ransomware works by when you log in, it will just activate a pop-up window. And so that'll be the first thing that opens, and you can't click on anything else. It's very similar to if you log into a work computer, you might have systems like Teams or Outlook, they open automatically. That's what ransomware is doing. It's opening up automatically. And when you run in start mode, all those background processes stop. So you can just access your system as usual. And from there, you need to run an antivirus scan. An antivirus scan will detect malware on your computer. So there was a stat showing that it takes about 180 days for businesses to actually detect malware on their computer. So that's 180 days that malware, on average as well, where it can be sat in your files or on your system, collecting information, downloading passwords, email addresses, watching you put passwords in and email addresses. Really dangerous, and you need to make sure you've got antivirus scans. If you're worried right now, run an antivirus scan. It will root out any malware for you. And then there's some additional steps. You can go into your files and literally delete the malware manually, or you can restore your device. If you're really stuck, take it to an IT specialist or to your IT department. And a worst case scenario, last resort, if you can't do anything, if you have had encryption but you've got backups, I would do a factory reset of your device. That will delete everything off of your computer and reset it back to factory condition. But that's the last case scenario. Now, another method in which phishing works is through something called CEO fraud. In that example we saw in that video, there was a form of CEO fraud there that she had where someone was claiming to be from the director. And that's where she trusted the email. CEO fraud, basically also known as business email compromise, is a type of cybercrime where attackers impersonate a company's CEO or other executives or employees to trick employees, vendors, or partners into making unauthorized financial transfers, giving away data, sensitive data, or providing access to company systems. And here's an example of this. I created this one. Basically, you might get an email which actually looks like it's from the CEO of the company or from another member of staff. And in this one, it's saying, and again, this is fake. I sent it to myself. It says urgent action required. Again, the urgency there. And they're saying, I hope this email finds you as soon as possible. So they're saying, this is pretty urgent. I had an urgent notice from the finance department that you failed to pay agency fees this month. We can see that money we sent was sent but never received. Instead, it bounced back. You may not see this correction yet, as it is in our department holding account scheduled to send back to you. Action. Please send a new payment immediately whilst we wait for the original money to come back. Amount, sort code, account number, reference. This is a matter of urgency. They're demanding we make the payment. If it fails, they will terminate contract. So there's loads of fear and urgency. They're saying you've got to do this right now. They've given it a backstory, a bit of an excuse, saying, yeah, we know you've already sent the money, but it's actually failed and it's just sort of gone back to the finance department and they're going to send it back to you. We don't have time for that to come back physically into the account to send a new payment. So they'll use lots of different tactics, backstories to try and get you to send money or give away details or click links or download malware. And as I say, we're ever faced with a phishing email, the first thing that we should do, if we haven't clicked on anything, is to report the email. Now, we usually have a feature to report emails. In Outlook, you have that feature. In NHSMail, you have that feature. On your toolbar, there will be a button that says report phishing or report suspicious email. That will send to a department who will be able to analyze that. Now, another one is through action fraud. So they have a feature to report these, and a lot of people don't report fraud. The statistics show that about 50% of companies actually report it when they get fraud. All you need to do is go to this website. I'd report this in all cases. And you just click on the link and you type you're the victim, a business, a witness. Let's just say you're the business. And then from here, it will give you continue as guest. I understand, continue. And then you need to give consent, and then you follow this through. So you tell them what type of fraud has happened. Again, they give you all of these pop-ups, all this extra support. I'm going to find it hard to close this window because I'm actually sharing the screen right now. In this one, you could just say business identity theft, your business or someone else's, and then it just takes you through further and further, and then it will report the crime for you. So I'd always recommend that. Also, educating employees, really important. Again, most of these are done through human error. Running simulations is a really good way around this, but always verify emails, verify who it's coming from. If they're saying it's coming from some of your organization, why don't you just actually contact that person yourself with the details you have rather than just trusting the email? If it's claiming to be from the bank, from HMRC, why don't you go and contact your bank by going onto their website and sourcing the information yourself? Make that proactive contact. Enhancing email security, so having multi-factor authentication, having strong passwords, both really important measures which we can put in place, or by just having a secure email system in place. And as I say, criminals will often try to get around this by using other tactics. They'll often try phishing attacks once you've given information through phishing. And what they'll do is they'll try and phone you pretending to be somebody. Again, I've put some examples of this: police, HMRC, a fake invoice, bank, someone in authority, someone from your company. And on that phone call, they'll use social engineering. So they'll try and build rapport, they'll manipulate you, they'll use fearful, or they'll try and come across being on your side and trying to help you. And you become quite trusting and give that information. Usually they're linked to phishing. They're often trying to get out of that second factor authentication from you or extra details in order to launch another attack on another system. So just some additional steps to protect yourself. Obviously, avoid clicking on links from unsolicited messages. So if you don't expect an email from that company, that person, don't click on the links. Go and verify the sender by proactively finding their contact details. Again, these are all steps we can take to eliminate human error. Double check a link. Often if you hover over a link, you'll see the link. If it's claiming to be from an official company, if you hover over that link and it looks really suspicious, that link, it just looks nonsense or taking you through to some bizarre website, again, big red flag. Use strong passwords, use multi-factor authentication. I run several sessions that go through how we can do that, how we can set that up. Please look out for those on our website. Install antivirus software, update your antivirus software. By having that in place right now, you can go run a scan and check if there's any malware on your system and delete it. And obviously the biggest one here is education. Educate yourself, educate your employees, slow down your thinking. Analyze the content. And I always say, be suspicious of everything. Don't be too trusting. And there's some additional support. The National Cybersecurity Centre, they give loads of useful information loads of information actually around cyber attacks, cyber scams, how to set up multi-factor authentication. So that's National Cyber Security Centre. And obviously action fraud, I've already put the link in there as to how you report these crimes. And please do report them. They provide extra help, additional support, disaster recovery. There's loads of support out there for you if you do become a victim of these. So the final takeaway I always say to everyone here is, if you're ever presented with a phishing attack or any form of scan, stop, think, and then act. So just take a moment. If there's this fearful, urgent language, think about it, analyze it, look for those red flags, and then act. Report it to Action Force, report it to your ID department, inform your staff, and that will give you the maximum security there. So that takes me to the end of the session. Right before I open up for any questions, just to let you know, we do run lots of additional sessions. Loads of the information I went through just then, I do a deep dive on in other sessions where we have more time. You can find that on the Sussex Digital Team website. So going to sussexdigitalteam.co.uk, you can find all of those sessions on our landing page to book into. I've also given my email address there, so if you need any support, cyber support, digital support, DSPT support, any of that, please reach out to me, or even getting secure email systems, or if you have need any advice or worried about certain policy or security, you can reach out to me and I can help you. We also have a new LinkedIn page as well, which is Sussex Digital Inreach Team. Give us a follow on there. We provide lots of information and you can directly contact. You can see our team on there as well. We always post things on there. So that's all on there for you. So any questions? If not, thank you so much for coming along today. I hope you have a good rest of the day. But thank you so much for coming along. Nadia, is there anything else you'd like